The trial date has been set between Joe Gibbs Racing and Spire Motorsports and Chris Gabehart, and Todd Gilliland will be returning to Front Row Motorsports in 2027. Welcome back to another episode of Talkin NASCAR. I'm your host, Andrew. Hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Got some news to cover from this past couple days in the NASCAR world before we head out to North Wilkesboro for their first points race in, I believe, 3 decades. So, should be a fun race weekend, but let's go ahead and get to this news before we get to the racing on track. However, this first little bit of an announcement is concerning a new race that has been organized. Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the host of this year's this year's Cookout Clash, is now hosting Kyle Busch Invitational, which will be benefiting the Bundle of Joy Foundation, which is Samantha and Kyle Busch's charity. There will be 51 legend cars out on track and 18 additional Bandolario cars competing out at Winston-Salem come August 21st. Really awesome to see that Bowman Gray Stadium and the Legends Cars series is organizing this charity to benefit Kyle Busch's and Samantha Busch's charity at this upcoming race weekend. So this race will be available to watch free on and live on Flow Sports and as well on the NASCAR channel. So I definitely will be one to tune into this race at least for a little bit and check out some of the racing action from Bowman Gray Stadium. Next up, the trial date has been set for Joe Gibbs Racing, Spire Motorsports, and Chris Gabehart in that lawsuit. In a order issued on Thursday morning, Judge Susan Rodriguez issued an order and set the trial date for Monday, February 1st. That's when the trial will begin, and she expects the trial is expected to last 9 days. So we still got quite a while, a little over 6 months until the trial actually begins. So we've seen a lot of evidence come out so far and several new claims and new reports come out. So I can only imagine how much more we are going to get. And maybe there's hope that maybe the lawsuit can get settled before the trial actually begins. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But yes, the trial for the lawsuit between Chris Gabehart and Spire Motorsports versus Joe Gibbs Racing has been set for February 1st in 2027. Next up, we have a report about a former NASCAR broadcaster, Rick Allen. You may remember him for being the voice of NBC in the Cup Series and the O'Reilly Series for several seasons until he was replaced, I believe, in 2024 by Lee Diffie. Now, Rick Allen is getting his return to the TV stage. He will be calling Pac-12 games for the CW in college football this upcoming season alongside Will Blackman and Michael Bumpus on the sidelines. Recently, Rick Allen has been outside of the racing industry calling the Cars Tour and some alternate starts. He's been working for the Carolina Panthers as their public address system announcer, and also last year he did call several college football games last year. So now he'll be getting a full-time gig in the Pac-12. Now, personally, I do like Rick Allen a lot as a broadcaster. He has that big TV broadcasting voice that, really grabs your attention and is really powerful on TV, and I really like it a lot. And I hate to say it, he is a guy that I emulate a little bit when I'm recording on this show a little bit. So I do really like Rick Allen. I do wish he would have stuck around the NASCAR, especially in the National Series. That sort of scene, I really do wish that. I do remember he did call some public address or do some public address system work for NASCAR. I think at Daytona, maybe at Indianapolis as well. I know I remember hearing him on the PA system on some broadcasts recently, like as of this season. I think it may have been at Daytona actually. So regardless, it was really cool to hear Rick Allen doing some stuff because again, I love his voice. I really, really do. So I was really hoping that maybe he would get some more opportunities in NASCAR, maybe with Fox in the Truck Series, because man, oh man, did no disrespect to Jamie Little or anyone else in that broadcast booth, but man, oh man, do they need someone to provide some sort of energy into that broadcasting crew. But now that he's with the CW and the CW sports system, maybe we could see Rick Allen, calling some races for the O'Reilly series down the road potentially. If Adam Alexander can't make it out to some races, or they need an alternate, or maybe he'll be on pit road. And any sort of capacity, I would love to see Rick Allen back behind in the broadcast booth for some NASCAR races. So glad to hear that Rick Allen is still continuing to do some broadcasting work, now joining the Pac-12 crew for the CW. Next up, we do have some silly season news to talk about, and we're going to head over first to the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and talk about the current points leader for the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, Justin Allgaier, driver of the number 7 car for Junior Motorsports. Recently, this season, it was announced that Justin Allgaier is considering some potential of retiring after this season. Justin Allgaier is, of course, 40 years old, has been driving for several years in the Cup Series and the O'Reilly Series. He's been doing it for a long time. He's been doing it for 14 years in the O'Reilly Series. Been with Junior Motorsports for a very long time. Just won his first championship back in 2024. Was very close in the championship conversation last year with Jesse Love, his teammate of Connor Zilich. And even still, in his age 40 season, is still operating at a very high level. He just won this past weekend's race at Echo Park Speedway in Atlanta after he suffered some damage on a restart. So Allgaier knows what he's doing. He's very good at it, and he's one of the best drivers in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. He's made some recent starts for Junior Motorsports in the NASCAR Cup Series and even with Hendrick Motorsports in some relief roles. But even still, there were some rumors of him potentially retiring after this 2026 season. But Kelly Earnhardt Miller, the co-owner of Junior Motorsports with Dale Earnhardt Jr., I believe she is the sister of Dale Earnhardt Jr., and she went on SiriusXM NASCAR radio this week and was talking about Justin Allgaier's future plans with the team and into 2027 and beyond. And she said, quote, "I'm so glad that we talked to him into coming back for a couple more years and not retiring yet. We might have him sticking around. I think you can count on him being with us and seeing him here at Junior Motorsports in the future for sure." So there you go. You have a direct quote from the owner or co-owner of Junior Motorsports that, yes, Justin Allgaier will be sticking around in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series for at least one more year. Now, this isn't coming from Justin himself. This is coming from the owner of Junior Motorsports, but it is a person that Justin probably regularly, talks with and interacts with throughout his day-to-day life as, his car owner and team owner. So, we might have to wait for sure to hear Justin confirm it to be sure that, he will be returning next season, but I think this is as good of a source as it gets for the status of Justin Allgaier heading into the 2027 season. So, I'm glad that Justin is returning. He is definitely getting to the point in his career that we start to see drivers start to tail off and take it easy and maybe start to think about retirement. Look at Martin Truex Jr., who was the most recent big name that retired in the Cup Series. He retired when he was in his mid 40s. I think he was 45. Denny Hamlin is turning 45 and has turned 45, I believe. And Hamlin says that he is retiring after the 2027 NASCAR Cup Series season. Kevin Harvick was getting into his late 40s, maybe into his early 50s. There have been drivers recently that have stuck around into their into their 50s. I look at Mark Martin, who has stuck around driving full time in NASCAR in his 50s. Matt Kenseth retired when he was in his 40s as well. Kyle Busch was also entering that twilight of his career into his 40s as well. You have to wonder if he did continue to race in the Cup Series, how long would that be? We know that he also wanted to go Truck Series racing and race alongside his son Brexton in a part-time schedule and like share that ride. So the 40s are definitely the time when NASCAR drivers nowadays begin to start to think about retirement and even enter that retirement stage. So we are definitely getting to that point with Justin Allgaier. So thankfully, though, we don't have to really talk about that and the potential that, yes, Allgaier is retiring at least for one more season unless something else drastic happens and Justin makes a complete 180 with the team. So yeah, glad to hear that Justin Allgaier is returning to the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series with Junior Motorsports next season in 2027. And finally, here in this episode of Talkin NASCAR, our last silly season news of this past week, Todd Gilliland and Front Row Motorsports announced that Todd will be returning to Front Row Motorsports in 2027 to drive the flagship number 34 car in the NASCAR Cup Series for the team. Todd Gilliland currently at the moment is entering his, I believe, his fifth season in the NASCAR Cup Series, driving for Front Row Motorsports. He has spent his entire career with the team since he came up with them in his rookie year back in 2022. He was a Truck Series driver for them up until that point when he came up into the Cup Series. This season, he's having a fairly solid season, currently 24th in points, one spot behind his teammate of Zane Smith, 3 points actually behind him at this current moment. But, Todd Gilliland's had a decent season. He's had most of his success on super speedways. He only has one top 10 on the year, has a 21st place average finish to go along with it this year. Does have a stage win this year, so has done fairly well, at least in the stages, 36 stage points, at least among the teams that aren't normally inside the top 10 area. So you can say that about Todd Gilliland, but I think this is a good move. Todd Gilliland having a fairly solid season again is in that chase conversation. Look, definitely more on the outside looking in. Not quite as close to making the chase as someone like AJ Allmendinger, who is 50 points out. Zane Smith is out by about 90. Gillen's a little bit over than that, but there's so many more races left to go in the season. And Todd Gillen and Zane Smith can make that up, but they will have to improve their current running positions and their current pace as of right now to really enter that conversation into the chase. But both are having really solid seasons. So Zane Smith is coming back obviously next year for Front Row, and multiple years after that, I believe. And Todd Gillen, now we know for sure, is returning to the team next year. I wasn't even really aware that Todd Gilliland was in a contract season and, might be a potential candidate to maybe take another ride elsewhere. I bet Penske might have been all over him. Front Row Motorsports is an alliance team with Team Penske, and I bet Penske would maybe look to consider replacing Austin Cindric with another guy, maybe like Todd Gilliland, maybe Zane Smith if he hadn't already signed an extension. But Todd Gilliland is definitely a very solid driver in the Cup Series, and I'd like to imagine that, he'd definitely be running a little bit better, say he was with a team like Aspire Motorsports, because I do think Front Row Motorsports is definitely ascending. They're not just quite ascending like some of the other teams in the Cup Series. They're ascending a little bit slower, maybe like a Legacy Motor Club, more of a meteoric rise in the Cup Series, because they did just expand to a three-car team. They recently became a Tier 1 Ford organization after Stuart Haas Racing folded a couple years ago. And Todd Gilliland has been the censor of that for the last couple of seasons. So now we know for sure that Front Row Motorsports has two of its three full-time cars in the Cup Series confirmed and know who will be driving them next season. Now, there are still some question marks about the number 4 car, and that is currently being driven by Noah Gragson. Now, the reason I bring up the 4 car once again, and that has been a hot topic of conversation, at least for me, on my show over the last couple of days, is that we have a new rumor that Lane Riggs could be making some part-time Cup Series starts this season in 2026 with a potential open entry for Front Row Motorsports. Now, Lane Riggs is the son of former NASCAR driver Scott Riggs. Lane is currently leading the Craftsman Truck Series point standings at the current moment. He's battling it up there with Caden Honeycutt driving for Tricon Garage. Lane's been, with Front Row Motorsports over the last couple seasons, driving in the Craftsman Truck Series. This year, he has really taken a step up in performance out on track. Last year was a major improvement from his rookie season where he got his first win at the Milwaukee Mile. I was actually in attendance for that race, and that was really cool to watch Lane Riggs getting that win. I think he actually dislocated his shoulder when he was celebrating in that race, which was kind of funny to see, but thankfully Lane was okay. But yeah, I was in attendance for Lane Riggs' first career NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series victory at the Milwaukee Mile, the last race at the Milwaukee Mile in a couple of years. So yeah, how time does fly. But anyways, Lane Riggs having a very solid season with Front Row Motorsports. And the rumor is coming from the Closing Labs podcast, where the co-host, a former NASCAR pit crew member, said that he is hearing that Lane Riggs could be making starts in the Cup Series this season. He said, quote, Lane's going to be running some Cup races this year, is what I've heard. That's what I've heard, is that he's going to be running the 36 car for Front Row Motorsports. So it's not officially confirmed that Lane Riggs will be making Cup starts, but there is some good rumors and good speculation that he will. So this is very interesting, especially for the entire Front Row Motorsports organization. And the fallout from this could be very interesting depending how Lane Riggs does run. I do expect Lane Riggs maybe will make a start, maybe like a 1 or 2 starts. We have 2 super speedways coming up to end the season, one at Daytona and the other at Talladega this season. I would expect that is where Lane Riggs would make his starts. Front Row Motorsports, very good in the drafts, especially at the larger tracks like Daytona and Talladega. And we've seen them do this before. Front Row Motorsports, they've had Zane Smith make some Cup starts part time with the team at Talladega and Daytona. I remember Zane Smith made his Cup Series, his second ever Cup Series start. It was his first with Front Row at Daytona in the 500. He didn't make the show, but he was very close, but he got caught up in a wreck. I do remember that. It was on the duels in 2023. Before that, Zane made a start with RFK in relief of Chris Buescher, but regardless, Front Row Motorsports has done this in the past where they have their top Truck Series drivers make some part-time starts. I mean, I remember Zane Smith made a start in the 38 car back in 2023, and Front Row kicked Todd Gilliland over to the 51 car to drive part-time and make select starts with the team. And the end ultimately ended up sticking with Todd Gilliland while using Zane Smith kind of as those starts as like a trial run and kind of how to gauge what his performance might be in the NASCAR Cup Series, and they ultimately went up with Todd Gilliland. So this could be something similar that Front Row is doing with their fourth part-time car. They could be doing this with Lane Riggs, and Lane Riggs definitely is a candidate to take over that four car for Front Row Motorsports. Noah has been linked to a couple other teams. He's been linked to Richard Childress Racing early on in the silly season after Kyle Busch's tragic passing. Recently, however, there have been new rumors that Austin Hill, it does sound like, will take over that number 33 car next year full time. And another front row guy of Chandler Smith might be moving up to the RCR program in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series next season. So if you're looking at this, Front Row Motorsports might be out of full time drivers next season, and Noah may not have a full time ride next year. And Noah Gregson has been linked or has been talking to, been talked about as of late in the NASCAR garage. Most notably, wanting to punch Kevin Magnussen in San Diego for their on-track issues. But Noah said on the Dirty Mo Media podcast with the Dale Jr. Download with Chase Briscoe that he didn't punch Kevin Magnussen because he's thinking about next season and the long-term consequences from those actions. And Noah said on that podcast too with Chase Briscoe that he's racing for a ride next season. He's racing for a job. So Noah's not safe over at Front Row Motorsports, though the rumors have certainly gotten a little bit quieter in terms of Noah going to Richard Childress Racing and as well leaving Front Row Motorsports. But anything is still on the table. We have nothing that is confirmed. It's just rumors and speculation on who will be filling what rides in the NASCAR Cup Series. But getting back to the point, if Lane Riggs will be making starts in the Cup Series for Front Row Motorsports, I wouldn't be surprised if these are trial runs and little scouting and evaluations of Lane Riggs to see if he's ready to jump up to the NASCAR Cup Series with Front Row. Because we've seen it happen with multiple Cup Series drivers as of late, going straight from trucks to Cup. Look at Carson Hocevar, the most notable example. He's won a race already with Spire Motorsports and is a consistent race contender. Todd Gilliland did it. Zane Smith did it when he jumped up in 2024 to drive for Spire and Trackhouse. Could Lane Riggs be the next guy that is added to that list of drivers to go straight from trucks up to the NASCAR Cup Series? We'll have to wait and see. And if this does end up happening where Lane Riggs moves up, what are the options for Noah Gregson? And there's not very many options for Noah, at least on the Cup Series side of things. If the rumors are true about Richard Childress Racing potentially sticking with Austin Hill next year, man, what is Noah Gregson going to do? Because there's not many openings in the Cup Series. He could go over to Calling. He does have a relationship with that team in the 10 car. He's been rumored and has been a name that's mentioned in possibilities of filling that 10 seat next year because sounds like Ty Dillon may not be returning to that seat next year if Calling does switch over to Dodge next season. Could Noah Gregson be an option for that? Possibly. Could Noah go back down to the O'Reilly Series? For sure. With what team? I'm not exactly sure. His former team of Junior Motorsports is definitely, it sounds like, has full seats, has really pretty much all their seats full. I don't think they would be willing to bring in like a fifth full-time car. I know Carson Gavopoulos kind of floating around, really just kind of putting together a full schedule. Sammy Smith, if he doesn't jump up to the Cup Series or move to another team, it does sound like he'll probably stick with that team, I'd imagine. Justin Allgaier, we just talked about, is sticking with the team. Raja Caruth, I'm not entirely sure about his situation. So it does sound like that they will have already 4 full-time cars next season in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series next year. So it might be tough for Noah to find a really good NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series team next year to join. Joe Gibbs Racing, it sounds like, won't have any openings. I'm just trying to go through teams off the top of my head. Going to be a lot of mid-pack O'Reilly Series teams next year that are going to be looking for a driver. Maybe Peterson Racing, we just talked about in the last episode that they could be looking to expand to a second full-time team next year. Maybe Noah would be the veteran that Peterson Racing would bring in to sort of emulate what Viking has done this year in the O'Reilly Series. Truck Series could join calling in the Truck Series like Justin Haley did this past season, joining the number 16 team full-time this year. Noah could for sure do that. There's going to be other Truck Series openings as well. He could join Front Row in the Truck Series, fill one of those seats full-time. I'm sure Noah maybe wouldn't want to do that, but to keep him racing full-time, he might have to jump down to the Cup Series. And there's always the option that Noah will get, a part-time opportunity. Maybe Rick Ware Racing calls him up for, a part-time schedule in the Cup Series. Who knows? I bet there will be, people calling to get Noah Gregson in a ride because he's really good with sponsors. And Noah Gregson does have a good O'Reilly Series resume, and he had one really good season in the Cup Series, which was with a floundering Stewart Haas Racing team, where he was top 20 in points, was not doing too bad. Top 25, excuse me, not top 20, but top 25 in points, not looking horrible. But since moving over to Front Row, it's been a little bit of a struggle. Yes, he has improved this season from last year with his first year at the team, but I would imagine that Noah would be running a little bit more closer and matching what his teammates of Zane Smith and Todd Gilliland are doing. Maybe Noah Gregson just needs another year to fully gel with the team and fully get used to them being inside the building. Who knows? Because last year there was a good opportunity that Noah would lose his ride and lose his job with Front Row Motorsports if they didn't get that lawsuit resolved earlier this offseason. So, who knows? Noah really does need some more time to adjust to the team. Who knows? A lot of stuff could be happening with Noah Gregson. They've changed crew chiefs. They brought in Grant Hutchins this year, replaced him with for Drew Blickensderfer, the guy that Front Row Motorsports brought over with Noah Gregson from Stewart Haas Racing. That partnership obviously didn't work out very good in the first season that they were paired up together at Front Row. So a lot of question marks and a lot of performance question marks around Noah Gregson. So I'm hoping that Noah, can continue to keep a Cup Series ride this upcoming season. There's definitely still openings. Front Row could always return there. Richard Childress could go over there. He has a relationship with Bass Pro, one of the main partners of Richard Childress Racing, or could go over to Calling in the 10 car. Who knows? Still some options out there, but not that many are left for Noah Gregson. So let me know down in the comments what you think about these silly season rumors and news. Is Noah Gregson going to be able to keep his ride at Front Row Motorsports, or is he going to have to continue to look for a new one next season? Let me know down in the comment section below what you think. But that will do it for this episode of Talkin NASCAR, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you did enjoy this episode, make sure you follow the show so you never miss another episode. And go check out all the other episodes that I have posted on the show. Most recently, we did the Echo Park Speedway second race of the year at that track, race recap. That was just this past week. And the last episode was covering some of the latest news in NASCAR as well as my power ranking. So go check out that episode as well. And if you like what I'm doing over here as well, go check out Talking Sports with Miles and Andrew. I'll have links to that show down in the description below. Talk sports fairly often with my good buddy Miles. That's the main show that this was bred from. This Talking NASCAR with Andrew Volkman. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. Links in the description below to both shows if you want to follow them both so you'd never miss another episode of either one of them. Thank you so much for listening. I still don't know how to do these outros, and maybe I'll figure it out sometime soon. I'll see you for the North Wilkesboro Cup Series review in a couple days. So I'll see you then. Have a great rest of your day, guys.